Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show we're talking about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The 100. Another great episode. I really liked a lot of the things that went down in this episode. Obviously, this entire episode takes place, well, not all of it, but most of this episode takes place inside of Clark's head. And I do like the drawings and everything like that, what they symbolize. Obviously, like, each one is kind of tied to a memory. Like, one of the drawings you can see is Octavia from, like, the first landing on Earth and her being the first one out, being like, yeah, celebrate. It's little stuff like that. And another one from Lexa. It's really nice because it hits you with that feeling of nostalgia. It would have hit me even harder because I've talked about this in these recordings before, I believe. But like, one of my nieces has recently, she kind of checks in and out of the show, but she watches it because the entire show so far is on Netflix. So she, checks in from time to time. So I see her watching some of the earlier seasons, reminding me of stuff like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that. So the nostalgia didn't hit me as hard just because a lot of that stuff is still fresh to me because of her, So it's pretty neat still to see all of it kind of hit like that. And I do like the different places she bounces between. Like, at one point she's in Mount Weather. Another point she's basically in the village, season 5, where season 5, where she had met Maddie. Well, it's a place she frequented with Maddie. Stuff like that I thought was kind of pretty neat. I also love the fact that she has the face-to-face with Josephine. Well, I'm all over the place, so really quickly, the face-to-face with Allie is really interesting. It is kind of similar to what I said, but not to a certain extent. That basically it's because of that whole experience that she is alive now. Allie's being like, you should honestly be thanking me. I'm the reason why you're alive right now. Because the thing inside of her that connected her to all of that was like, oh, it was never deactivated. The one that was in Abby and Raven was, turned off, but the one inside of Clark was still activated, so that's what kept her able to kind of keep this little compartmentalized part of her memories and stuff kind of stored away. So I thought that was kind of neat. Having to turn to one of your adversaries to basically save you, that was kind of interesting. But especially because it's interesting because there's so many layers to everything, because it's like, well, obviously her brain is being overwritten by Josephine, and it's like, well, Allie kind of wanted to do that to a certain extent. Her thing was more so about taking away people's pain. She never understood why humans were so okay with it. But Clark has all these memories. Obviously, her more painful stuff is buried deep, but doesn't understand why would you want to keep that pain. Nevertheless, the memory of why she still has, being protected from being completely wiped out. The whole solution being an EMP, that whole thing, she has to keep that safe. Running into Josephine, now that's really interesting. Having that face-to-face, Josephine, and she's so nonchalant about it. That kind of goes with the whole sociopath aspect to it, because she doesn't have any emotions. It seems like whatever was there for her humanity, it seems like that got stripped away a long time ago. When we look at things, it doesn't seem like it's probably just a whole 200, because at least with even the other people, it seems like everyone has reservations about this whole situation, because even Russell felt bad. It's like, I want to get my daughter back, but I still feel bad about doing this to you, Clark. Josephine seems like she's literally the only one of the primes that literally has no empathy. Others seem, well, to be fair, we haven't really been introduced fully to the other primes, like the one that recently came back and everything, that that whole complicated situation with Jordan. She doesn't seem like, it's really hard to say, but they at least show some kind of remorse. Josephine doesn't, So it's running through all these different memories of Clark's. One was running into Maya, which for the longest time, I don't remember if back then I got it wrong, but her name for me in my head has always been Mia. I don't know whether I'm just kind of I don't know. I can't believe I forgot that it was Maya. Nevertheless, I guess because it's been a while since her name's really come up. Last time she came up was anything related to Jasper, and that was season 4. So, but obviously, what she represents is kind of furtherment of Clark's guilt, because the whole situation is about, oh no, Clark's doing all this because it's for her people, she cares about them and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's well, what about all the horrible stuff you did? She runs into Octavia. Octavia's I thought you cared about me and Bellamy. Oh, if you think Bellamy really forgave you, why aren't you facing him here? Because there's a part of you, I'm part of your subconscious, you don't want to run into him because you're afraid that maybe, because when she sees this version of Octavia in her head, she's actually seeing herself. That's a part of herself of being that's the monster that I really am. Octavia's kind of her monster is on the outside. Clark's is kind of on the inside. And, you know, it scares her. Even to the point her projections don't want to care about her. It's Octavia's like, you want to get Clark, go get her. Not even going to protect her or whatever. It's like, but for her, it's like, well, because obviously, like, all that you put me and Bellamy through, it's like, I thought you were my friend, but you pushed so much on me. You want to kind of send other people to fight for you. You know, Maya, once again, putting the whole Jasper situation, because if you hadn't killed me and all those people in Mount Weather, more so specifically me, Jasper wouldn't have spiraled like he did. His death is on your hands, you know. I did appreciate the whole situation of, like, oh, leading Josephine the wrong place, and then her getting shot collared. That was pretty dope. But it's also twisted, well, many different things. One, Clark kicking her ass was pretty badass. I'm like, yeah. And then, like, bashing her head with the door. I was like, that is super metal, dude. In the sense of that was super fucking brutal. I was like, holy crap, dude. And then, like, Josephine kind of electrocuting herself with the shock collar just so that she would die and get resurrected because of the mind drive. Her subconscious is always kind of rebooted every time so she can come back as many times. Clark's not in that same situation. I do like, just like how this mind space situation works, because it's like, yeah, I can't control things in here, but I can pull things from my mind space, in this particular case her dad, and bring him in. Though Clark does the same thing, well, later on, but we'll kind of talk about it. It's so sad because Josephine, you know, is very good at getting inside of people's heads. Like, she's very good at getting inside of Clark's, because it's the whole situation of, like, oh, like, look at all these deep, dark memories that you have here. And the fact of the matter is, you just claim that everything that is like, I don't get why you're feeling so bad and guilty, because everything you've ever done has been for your people, right? So why are you fighting so hard to live right now? Because you fighting to live is just going to lead to the genocide of your people. So just give in. Let me win. I'll look after your people, which we as the audience know that's horseshit. We already know that you're literally planning and working things out, but maybe in her twist, well, in her mind, it's like she needs them. Obviously, she needs Abby with the whole turning everyone into Nightblood type of situation, but she still needs them. They play a partner plan. But, you know, it's like, you know, so if you really care about your people, you know, you fought so long, just give in and rest, you know, essentially saying that, you know, fighting anymore would just kind of be selfish, because for her it's like all you want to do is play, you know, the whole conversation came up about, like, Clark, all she ever wants to do is play the savior, kind of has that god complex of, like, I want to be the hero, I want to be kind of the center of attention type of situation. And obviously, like, you know, once again, this is like poking at Clark's insecurities. Like, these are the biggest fears she has about herself, things that she's like, maybe this is true about me, you know. Because the sad thing is, like, Clark has always had to make those hard choices. And for her, it's like, okay, the hardest choice would be just to let go, because it means protect. I claim I want to protect my people, then this would be it. I do like that the lock box, it's like, you know, obviously Josephine tried 100, but it didn't work. And she's like, but then Clark reminds her, it's like, you forgot about Bellamy and Raven. One, Bellamy had snuck aboard. Two, Raven didn't come until later on. Obviously, you know, when they sent her from the Ark and everything. But still, I like that little detail like that. And Clark was willing to let go until Monty showed up. I'm like, what? That's so dope. And I think when it comes to everything, it's very befitting that it would be Monty, because of what Monty represented. Once again, he was kind of like the moral compass of the group. He was kind of like, no, this isn't the right thing to do. But for him, he's even saying it now. It's like, always doing the right thing is the right thing to do, and you giving up is not the right thing. Like, I get it, you want to, like, you know, do what I asked you to and be better, but being better isn't doing, because that would mean, yeah, our people are taken care of, but we're letting people who, these immortals who kill to keep living, keep going, you know. And we know that eventual sacrifice would include your people too. So it's granted at the time she didn't know that, but still, like, we know that that's how Josephine operates. Clark just didn't. But Monty's reminding her that, you know, he understands that, you know, bearing everything that she's had to bear, like, she bore it so that no one else would have to bear it, you know. And that's enough tiring for anyone, because she gets so much flack for the choices she's made. And, you know, and even when it comes to the situation where she made choices that so no one else would have to make them, you know, people still get, you know. But that's the thing. You weren't that. Once again, I brought up the whole conversation of Raven. She never had to be in that position to make those hard choices. To her, that's why it's like, oh, I don't have anything. I've never done terrible terrible things to get where we are now. Once again, I'm still saying that eventually this season might be that season, just because that might be foreshadowing. But the fact of the matter is, Clark, amongst anyone, like, she has regrets about everything that she's done. She's lost a lot of people that she's loved, ranging from Lexa to Finn to a lot of people, and not even just them, just like the friends, this family she had. She lost her dad, who she also runs into her dad at the beginning too. I thought was kind of pretty nice. It's also like kind of nice too, because it's like, oh, you run into your dad in a place that's important to you and Maddie. So it's kind of this neat, like, familiar thing of like, oh, she's there with one of her parents, and she was kind of a parent to Maddie. So it's kind of nice in that regard. But I do like that, kind of going on an adventure with Monty, going inside of her mindscape and Josephine's, and I love the whole situation of Monty being like, everything's organized like books in specific order and everything, chronological order, but he's like, yeah, I like your drawings better. I'm like, which is funny because that's actually, Clark, talking to herself. So it's just kind of neat to kind of be like, yeah, giving the middle finger to Josephine about that whole, her organization skills. But it is interesting. We kind of get a little more insight into that whole Kaylee situation that she was talking about before, of like why she killed Josephine and why Josephine ended up killing her, when she came back in Clark's body. It's because it deals with someone that Kaylee cared about, Isaac, and because they're not above the whole, like, because they don't like the way she's handling things, because it's like going to such extreme measures to keep, the resurrection going, essentially, amongst, the primes and stuff like that, because obviously Knowles have made it so like the bloodline of like the primes is getting thinner and thinner. There are less like there's less hosts that have, night blood. So it makes it harder and harder to keep them alive and everything. And so, but once again, it's what I brought up before of like how Josephine has gotten so twisted. It's like she's willing to go to such extreme measures. That's why Kaylee ended up killing her, because it's like, you killed someone I cared about. The fact is, you're claiming that this is for our people. And I think that's so fascinating that's the parallels I think they're creating. It's the parallels between Josephine and Clark. Both people believing they're doing what they're doing for their people. But I think that's why Josephine like tries to pick apart everything about Clark, because she herself is projecting, because she believes like, oh, everything I'm doing is for the sake of my people. So like, whatever sacrifices have to be made, like that's why she was like, I don't get it. Everything you did was for your people. So why are you being so negative about it? Because for her, it's like, oh, everything I do is for my people too. When in actuality, it's not even about keeping your other people alive, keeping everyone alive. It's like, no, all you care about is yourself. I mean, because she even makes reference to Gabriel, because she's talking to Isaac in another memory, and it's like, oh, that host body he's in now must be like, what, 95? So, it seems like she's not even willing to see things from Gabriel's point of view. It's like, once again, it's a conversation of like, did she get like this because coming back so many times eventually does that to you? She has been alive for 230 years. Like I brought it up before, I made a reference to like the Vampire Diaries, the rings that bring back humans and stuff like that. It's like when you die and come back so many times, you turn a little crazy. Like the whole Alaric situation kind of being like a little serial killery at one point in the series, that type of situation. So I'm wondering, is it that type of thing? Well, we do dive deeper into one of her memories. One of the memories she kind of keeps buried, like Clark keeps memories buried. One of those particular memories is before the bombs hit on Earth. I love one of the newspapers. It's like, yeah, Dioza got captured. One of the magazines is like one that's got like Becco in the front of it. So basically, it seems like it stems from this dude that I guess she might have cared about. He was someone that she regrets. The fact is that she didn't give him the time of day, and to punish her for it, he ends up killing himself in front of her, because it's like, oh, all I've ever done was this and that for you, and you couldn't even just tell me the truth that obviously you don't care about, so... And it seems like that scarred her. And I guess for her, maybe that's what solidified the whole immortality thing once it became an option. It's like, no, I'm never going to let anyone around me die, which isn't 100% true, considering the fact that she straight up killed. Like, she just doesn't value life. I mean, she kind of refers to the Knowles as more than useless or worthless, because they serve like literally no purpose at all, because all they're going to do is help kill them faster by making it like, if there's integration with the Knowles, it's just going to make the bloodline die out faster amongst the people on Alpha, in Sanctum. So there's that whole situation. So I just thought that was kind of fascinating. And the fact is that that memory triggers her so much. Like Josephine, who seems like nothing bothers her. Once again, she doesn't care about anything. But the moment Clark was in that memory, she snapped. It's like, what about that memory changed you? Like, was that the beginning? Was that what kind of eventually chipped away at you? Because we saw her before, like, you know, when they first landed on Alpha and everything in Sanctum, you know, before her dad went around killing everyone, she was not the person she is right now necessarily. But who's to really say like what the extenuating circumstances were that led to her becoming the way she is, you know? I'm sure maybe that's something we'll kind of dive in more going forward, but maybe it's just supposed to represent, and the fact is that going forward she became more and more withdrawn, because it already seemed like, it's hard to say whether she was just being like, oh, I'm super awkward, or was it just kind of like, I don't like you, but I'm trying to let you off easy type of situation. But maybe because of that, fear kind of struck inside of her, and she subconsciously kind of avoided getting close to people. And once again, that maybe that chip, like I was saying earlier, chipped away at her, kind of stopped caring more. Like, you bury your feelings long enough, you eventually maybe just stop caring in general. I don't know. Because once again, we don't 100% know what exactly went down between her and Gabriel for him to be on the side of things he is, yet for her to kind of stay where she is. I mean, once again, it's that whole thing of like, once, you know, death, you know, you had a, you know, multiple midlife crises of like, oh yeah, death on the verge of things, you know, because even Murphy, you know, having crossed over and seen hell, like, it terrified him. So you can assume the same thing happened with everyone, including Josephine, but I think most in particular Josephine. But nevertheless, Josephine's basically made it clear of like, oh, basically I was going to spare your friends, but now they're dead, just to spite Clark. But so she goes back and she's like, I won. And while Bellamy and Nate are there making a deal with Russell, Bellamy happens to notice her tapping her fingers subconsciously because she doesn't even notice it, because Clark on the inside is kind of like messing with the lights and stuff like that. I hope we get to see more of like her being like her and Monty. I'm curious when we'll get to see her kind of bringing in other like projections as well, like other people, whether it be, I don't know if they'll do the whole Alexa situation. Well, for one, the actress who plays Alexa is also in like Fear the Walking Dead, at least I think she still currently is. But also, they kind of already did that in season 3 when in the City of Light. So they're probably going to go more so for other people. Because it's interesting, too. The lockbox where everything was, one of the things was obviously a video of her dad that she, you know, kind of like kept buried. But another one was the goggles. I'm assuming that's supposed to be Jasper's goggles, you know, just kind of like the things that kind of affected her the most over everything else, you know. Because, like I said, she feels the most shame when it comes to the whole Jasper situation, because she blames her, like, that whole Maya situation, once again, that was her subconscious talking to her, being like, this is how you feel, like, you know, your guilt is eating you away. You, like, trying to say, like, it's not true, but I know who you really are because I'm you know, that type of situation. So I thought that was kind of fascinating. But now Bellamy tells Nate, it's like, oh, it was Morse code. She's alive, and because of that, we're going to get her back. I'm like, yeah. But obviously, you know, you have Josephine being like, oh, I know the perfect way to get back at Clark for, you know, being alive. Once again, it's like, oh, she's going to probably end up killing the people that it's most important to her. Let's not also forget Maddie's intent on revenge. Like, obviously, she's going to cross over to the dark side. Hopefully, Bellamy talks to her. He might not want to tell her because it's like, oh, I don't want to get Maddie's hopes up, you know. Maybe it'll be that type of situation, and it's like, we should tell her sooner than later. We as the audience know that, but they won't know that, like, oh, we need to tell her now because she's slipping onto the darker side. We'll ultimately have to wait and see. I'm very interested to see where the next episode takes us with all of this as Clark struggles and fights to get her body back. What that whole situation is going to turn into, where this is all going to lead. Is it going to lead to another war? Because that was the whole point, like, oh, you don't want to lead your people into another war. They might. Like, that's the whole thing, too, is, like, killing them the right thing. Because not everyone, but obviously would it be right to kill the Primes? Because, they've lived longer than anyone else. Obviously, Josephine wants to kill Knowles and stuff like that because of, like, oh, once again, the Nightblood situation of, like, keeping our people going because they have no other way of repopulation. You know, no giving births and stuff like that. So, it'll be interesting to see where that all ultimately ends up taking us. It's also twisted to find out that one of the bodies that Josephine was in was like a baby, and it's like, oh, that sucks. You know, it's like, jeez. I mean, and for the sound of things, it didn't work out anyway, but still, it's just, it sucks. Especially the way it kind of seems like things are very painful when things don't work out with the whole mind drive transfer thing. So it seems like things can kind of get pretty nasty in that regard of just like how the life comes to an end in that regard. But nevertheless, like I said, I'm very interested to see where all this takes us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.